Karen's laugh was a chainsaw, slicing through the quiet cul-de-sac. She stood on my lawn, waving a fistful of papers, claiming my address as her own for her latest scam. For months, she'd been the HOA's self-appointed dictator, her beady eyes scanning every mailbox, every unkempt hedge, ready to slap fines on anyone who dared breathe wrong. But this was a new low, even for her. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. I'm Lily, a single mom who'd just moved into 17 Maple Drive, hoping for a fresh start after a messy divorce. The house was modest, the neighborhood quaint, but Karen, the HOA president, made it clear I was an outsider. She'd waddle over, her oversized floral blouse straining at the seams, to lecture me about my non-compliant mailbox or the unsightly tricycle my daughter, Emma, left in the driveway. Standards, Lily, she'd sneer, her double chin quivering. This isn't some slum. I bit my tongue, not wanting trouble, but Karen's smugness was a splinter under my skin. The first clue something was off came in the mail. A thick envelope from an insurance company I'd never heard of, addressed to Karen at my address. I figured it was a mistake and dropped it at her doorstep. She didn't thank me, just squinted, like I'd trespassed on her empire. Then more letters arrived. Bills, claims, policy updates, all in her name, all to 17 Maple Drive. I started stacking them in my garage, planning to confront her, but life got in the way. Emma's school, my night shifts at the hospital, the endless grind of keeping us afloat. Then the call started. Debt collectors, insurance adjusters, even a lawyer asking for Mrs. Karen Thompson about a claim for a car accident that never happened. My stomach sank. Karen wasn't just using my address, she was running a scam. I dug through the envelopes. Fake medical bills, forged accident reports, claims for injuries she never had. She'd been filing fraudulent insurance claims, funneling payouts to herself while hiding behind my address to dodge suspicion. The audacity made my blood boil. She'd picked me because she thought I was too busy, too weak to fight back. I wasn't the only one she'd crossed. My neighbor, Javier, a quiet mechanic with a knack for fixing everyone's cars, had his own Karen stories. She'd find him for parking his work truck in his driveway, calling it an eyesore. Mrs. Chun, the elderly widow across the street, got a $200 fine for her rosebushes being too wild. Karen ruled with an iron fist, her superiority complex as bloated as her frame. But this scam? It wasn't just petty HOA nonsense, it was a felony. I called the insurance company first, posing as a confused homeowner. They confirmed the claims were under investigation. Multiple red flags, the agent said. We've alerted federal authorities. My heart raced. Karen wasn't just scamming Mesh, was scamming the system, and they were closing in. I could have stayed quiet, let her crash and burn, but I wanted her to know I wasn't invisible. I wanted her to feel the walls closing in. That evening, I marched to her house, a stack of her fraudulent mail in hand. She answered the door in a garish pink tracksuit, her hair a helmet of bleached curls. "What do you want?" she snapped, eyeing the envelopes like they were nothing. I held one up, a claim for $50,000 in medical expenses from a supposed hit-and-run. "This is my address, Karen. Care to explain?" Her face twitched, but she doubled down. "Clerical error," she said, smirking. "You're making a fool of yourself, Lily." I wasn't. I'd already scanned every document, emailed copies to the insurance company, and called a friend at the local police station. Karen didn't know it, but her empire was crumbling. The next morning, I saw her outside, yelling at Javier about his unauthorized backyard barbecue. She didn't notice the black SUV parked down the street, or the two men in suits watching her every move. The confrontation came on a muggy Tuesday evening. I was in my kitchen, helping Emma with her math homework, when I heard shouting outside. I peered through the blinds. Karen was at my mailbox, stuffing another batch of fraudulent envelopes inside, her face red with entitlement. Javier and Mrs. Chun stood on their porches, watching. Then the SUV doors opened. Two federal agents stepped out, badges flashing. "Karen Thompson?" one called, voice like steel. She froze, papers slipping from her hands. "This is a misunderstanding," she shrieked, her voice cracking as the agents approached. The cul-de-sac went silent, neighbors peeking from windows. I stepped outside, Emma clinging to my side. Karen's eyes locked on me, venomous. "You did this, didn't you?" she spat. I didn't flinch. "You used my address, Karen. You brought this on yourself. The agents laid out the charges: mail fraud, wire fraud, identity theft. Each word hit like a hammer. Karen's smugness melted into panic as they cuffed her, her wrists straining against the metal. "I'm the victim here," she wailed, but no one bought it. Javier shook his head, muttering, "Karma." Mrs. Chun, usually so reserved, clapped softly from her porch. As they led Karen to the SUV, papers scattered across my lawn, her lies exposed for all to see. A neighbor I barely knew, a young guy named Tim, grabbed a marker and scrawled a sign on his fence. HOA: Karen commits insurance fraud using my address, caught by federal agents and arrested for felony. It was petty, sure, but it felt like justice. The crowd grew, 4 of us now, watching her empire collapse. Emma tugged my sleeve. "Is she gone for good, Mommy?" I hugged her tight. "She can't hurt us anymore." Karen's trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. Forged documents, fake claims, even a burner phone she'd used to impersonate victims. She'd scammed over $200,000, thinking she was untouchable. The judge wasn't kind: 7 years in federal prison, restitution, and a felony record that'd follow her forever. The HOA board dissolved her presidency the next day, and we voted Javier in as interim chair. He tore up every petty fine Karen had issued. But the real victory wasn't the courtroom. It was the quiet that followed. My mailbox was mine again. Emma rode her tricycle without fear of Karen's wrath. Mrs. Chin's roses bloomed wild and free. We weren't just neighbors anymore, we were a community, bound by the shared relief of Karen's downfall. Her greed had united us, showing us the strength in standing up and speaking out. Karen thought she could bully her way through life, that her sneers and fines made her invincible. She was wrong. The cul-de-sac wasn't hers to rule, it was ours. And as I watched her SUV disappear, I realized something. The worst people often build their own traps. Karen's was her arrogance, her belief she'd never get caught. But the truth always finds a way, like mail piling up in a box that was never hers to claim. The end. /Z artifact.